weeks ago, I saw Jaws in theaters for the second time in my life. But for you to properly understand this story, we need to go further back. 2 years ago, I saw Jaws in theaters. But no, we need to go even further back. When I was in like 2nd grade, I got shown this movie for the first time in my life, and it was permanently changed. However, I recognize that the lens I viewed this movie from is an unusual one. So today, I'm going to break down the decade-long relationship between me and this movie, vocify this movie, and then lastly, find out what it even means. Why am I here? Who are you? What do you want? Dad?
Yeah.
Can I interview you for a YouTube video?
About what?
Jaws.
Sure.
Yes. Alright, hold on. That was my father, and he is a key player here. The reason I asked to interview him was essentially so I could show you my own credentials. After all, every good essay has to cite their sources. How old was I, approximately, when you first showed it to me?
Maybe like 8.
Okay. And that is approximately what grade?
But what's going on here?
I told you, I'm interviewing you for a YouTube video about Jaws, and I can't tell you what it is.
I don't know. I would guess you were in like 3rd.
Okay, noted. Thank you. There isn't anything written down, by the way. This is my history notebook.
Am I gonna get in trouble for showing it to you when you were too young?
No. And that answer was no, he wasn't. But he was going to for levels of drip previously unknown to mankind.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Mother.
Oh, wow. Oh. For you to properly grasp what's happening here, I'm going to attempt to explain the movie to you off the top of my head. We start out and we meet this girl, Chrissy. She's at a party. She's hanging out. She sees this guy, and this guy's like, yo, yeah, I think you're cute. I'm going to hang out with you. And then she runs away, and he's like, yo, where are you going? And she's like, swimming. And then she gets in the water. And the guy, because they were at a party, is super drunk. So he passes out on the beach. And because he's passed out on the beach, he doesn't hear the shark in the water that goes and gets Chrissy. He drags her around. She's screaming. It's crazy. She's dead. Kill count 1. I never pick it up again. It is a bit I started, and then it never goes anywhere. Next scene, we open with Chief of the Amity Police, Martin Brody. And so he's walking around, his wife's waking up, they're making jokes about being from New York. Brody gets a phone call, and that phone call is from, I don't know, another police person. And they're like, yo, we found this girl dead on the beach. She's like, dead on the beach? That's crazy. Because it's the 4th of July weekend, and Amity is a tourist town. He gets in his little car, he is racing to look at the crime scene, basically. He meets up with a guy who was drunk on the beach, and he tries to explain it, but he can't do much because he was drunk and passed out. And then another police guy finds Chrissy's arm, and they're like, oh, that's not good. Because the whole time they've been trying to write it off as like a drowning accident or a boat propeller or something, and that's what the general public, by the general public, I mean the mayor and his little goons, want to believe that it was a boat. Eventually, Brody's like, yo, I fear that was not a boat. It looks like it was a shark. But the mayor's like, shh. It's 4th of July. So, what do? They keep the beaches open like nothing happens. Fast forward, everyone's hanging out on the beach, right? And then we see this kid. This kid's name is Alex. We see Alex and his mom, and they're on the beach. And keep in mind, Brody's super paranoid, right? He thinks it's a shark, but no one else thinks so. They're just hanging out. He's freaking out, but he's like trying to stay chill about it because like, what if it is just a boat and he's going crazy? Then what? We cut back to Alex, and he's swimming in the water. He's on his raft, and then all of a sudden, he starts thrashing, and everyone's like, wait, what? And then everyone runs forward, and it's a shark. A shocker, I know. Brody's running around. He's like, oh my god, this kid is dead, and his mom is pissed. Eventually, there's a town meeting, right? Everyone be like, yo, this kid just died. We think another girl died. All these people are dying. What do? Brody's like, we should close the beaches. And for some reason, despite just wanting justice for this kid, it's like, we didn't agree to that. Nah, go back. The mayor! He's like, only for 24 hours. And Brody's like, I didn't agree to that. Hello? Who told you that? Everyone else is like, 24 hours feels like 3 weeks. And as they're arguing over this, we hear nails on the chalkboard. And that is when we meet Quint. We meet this conniving mother. The best way I can describe Quint to you is that he is insane. And I'm not trying to make a joke when I say that. He's actually crazy. He's like, hey, I'll catch this shark for you, and I'll kill it, but you have to pay me much more than you originally promised for just catching the shark, because everyone's trying to catch the shark. And then Quint just leaves. So Quint, for now, is gone. And after Quint leaves, during some more running around trying to catch the shark, we meet the best character. We meet Matt Hooper. This character changed my brain chemistry. I'm being so for real with you right now. He is basically being like, get out of the boat. Why are these people in the boat? And no one's taking him seriously because he's a nerd. He walks up to Brody and is like, hey, you know, those guys, they're not going to make it out of the harbor. And Brody's like, who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm Matt Hooper. I'm from the Oceanographic Institute. And then Brody's like, oh my God, you're the guy we called. Because off screen, they called the guy. Who was the guy? Hooper. Hooper's like, yo, can I see the body of that girl? They're like, oh, sure. So he sees the body of that girl and he's like, okay, those are shark bite marks. And Brody's like, that's what I was telling you. And then the next day, there's this news report, oh my God, they caught the shark. And everyone looks and everyone thinks it's the shark, but Hooper, he's a nerd, is like, that's a tiger shark.
A what?
Those were great white bite marks. And then everyone else again, it's like, shh, shh, shh. And he's like, no, you're stupid. And so Hooper, later, after he goes and gets dinner with Brody, and this is where we learn a big thing about Brody. Brody is petrified of the water. He doesn't like to swim. When his family goes to the beach, he stays in the car. Remember this. Hooper's like, I'm gonna go cut open that shark, and you're coming with me. And Brody's like, okay, fine. So they go, and they cut open the shark that they caught, and he's like, yep, there's no girl, there's no kid, that's not the shark. Brody has to break the news, like, hey, that wasn't the shark. And the mayor's like, you're stupid. Yes, it is. And then Hooper's like, I'm stupid? And then they get in a fight. The mayor, whose name is Vaughn, by the way, is like, I don't care what you say. The public believes that was the shark, so it's the shark. The beaches are going to stay open. And Hooper is fed up. He hates this guy. Obviously, so is Brody. And Brody is now, throughout all of this, he's been doing more shark research. He's learning. So he's able to say these things to the mayor too. It's not just Hooper. Brody knows now too. But the mayor isn't believing it. We cut to the next day. It's the 4th of July. Everyone has come into town and they're celebrating. However, you know, the mayor's not going to do nothing about it. So there's a lot of people kind of scouted out on boats with walkie-talkies radioing what they're seeing. At one point, they think they see a shark. So everyone's freaking out. Turns out it was just 2 kids with a cardboard fin. But during the kids with the cardboard fin, the shark moved down to the pond. Now earlier, Brody's kids had agreed to go to the pond and not the ocean because they didn't want to, but like they know there's a shark in there. They're gonna go to the pond. This girl is yelling it, no one can hear her. But then Brody's like, wait, my kids are in the pond. By the time they get there, one of the guys they were with had already been eaten. So the kids are traumatized, but they're safe, except for the guy who got eaten. So they pull the kids out, and finally, this is when the mayor is like, I don't think we got the shark. Brody's like, no, dude. Brody goes, sign this contract. I'm gonna hire Quint to hunt and kill that thing. We've come full circle. This is when Hooper and Quint first meet. They go to Quint's little shark shop to sort everything out. Off the bat, Quint and Hooper hate each other. They hate each other so much. And that is because of classism. Because Hooper is from the city. He had all this tech given to him. But he's like, oh, I'm a smart boy. I deserve this tech. But Quint is like, you suck. You got all this stuff given to you. You have no real talent. I am catching these guys by myself, killing them, selling them, all this. You are getting this given to you. Hold on to this. Fast forward, they're all getting on the boat because those 3 agreed, we're gonna go find the shark, we're gonna kill it. With the power of friendship, which is basically just 2 friendships forced together, we will make this work. And we get some roles kind of established. Hooper does all the tech stuff, like he does all that. Quint is the one who's actually trying to fish it in and kill it. And Brody's there. So we get a bunch of scenes of the shark coming to them and then swimming away. And coming to them and then swimming away. And they're basically all realizing, oh my God, this thing is so much smarter and so much bigger than we thought. We're cooked. Fast forward to 3 of them sitting in, like, I guess the kitchen area of Quint's boat which is called the Orca, by the way. And we get this scene of Quint and Hooper comparing scars from their job. Gay as I'm sorry, I spoiled what the rest was going to be about, but like, hello? So, after comparing scars, realizing like we both have a lot of scars, maybe our jobs are equal. Brody's like, what's that on your arm? And then Quint goes, it's a tattoo. I got it removed. And then Hooper's like, wait, it says mom, and he loses his for it. He's so hype about his joke. Quint's like, no. I was on the USS Indianapolis. And then we learn about his time on the Indianapolis. Hooper's like, I didn't mean to. After Quint's done with his story, they start singing a little sea shanty. And everyone's singing along, and then the lights go out. Because the shark is back and he ate the light. So they're running around, they're trying to catch it, and they're like, oh my god. Hooper, he's like, wait, guys, I have tech. And they're like, yes, we know. And he's like, no, look. Then they take a closer look at what he brought on the boat. It's a cage. Harpoon, that's what it is. I'm so smart. And we saw this earlier when they were loading up the boat. But no one really paid any attention to it. Quint joked about it. To quote the man himself, you go in the cage goes in the water, shark's in the water, our shark. That's happening basically. Hooper's like, guys, if I get in the cage and go in the water and see our shark, I can shoot it. And they're like, that's a good idea. So they put him down there. While Hooper is down there, he gets jump scared by the shark. It's trying to eat the cage. He's like, oh my god. So he freaks out. He drops his needle and then he swims away. We think Hooper is dead at this point. When Brody and Quint reel the cage back up and he's not there, they're like, oh no, that was our guy. What do we do? And then, boom, the boat starts to break because the shark is back and is eating the boat. I think Quint just like slipped or something. The shark, because he's eating the boat, naturally eats Quint. He bites him in half. Quint dies. R.I.P. Quint. And Brody's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh no. He grabs something and he can't really tell what it is, and then he looks and it's like this big can, hydrogen bomb or something. And again, it is tech Hooper brought on the boat. And we get a scene earlier of the stuff falling over, and then Hooper goes like, that stuff will explode. Be careful. Brody's like, wait, that stuff will explode. I can explode it. So he shoves the tank in its mouth, and then the shark's going crazy. The shark's trying to eat Brody, he swims away. And then it comes back, Brody gets his gun, and he shoots it, and the shark explodes. The shark dies. And then Hooper swims up, and he's like, Quint? And Brody's like, no. Literally hold hands. They grab onto scraps of the boat, and the two of them swim off. And we close with Brody going, I used to be afraid of the water, can't imagine why. And that's our movie! There's a bunch of sequels, but they all suck. It is so hot. 4th of July, that was horrible.
An American flag behind you. Are you a believer of Christ?
I've got an American flag behind me and an American...
3 of them kissed on that boat. I don't care what anyone said. We shipped them the whole movie. Jaws old man Yowie? Never thought I'd see it. Update, they were so gay, and for what? I'm not alone. Now, the fact that I'm not the only woke teenager looking at Jaws through this lens is a new discovery to me, but one that I will be taking advantage of much more often. And I already did. For I reached out to TikTok editor Nathaniel Flint's boyfriend asking if I could use some of their posts to back up my claim. And to my sheer joy, they said yes. However, before we get to the edits, we need to know more about who we're talking about here. Hi, I took a break. I went and saw Matt Maltese in concert. And now I'm Quint. This conniving mother. This shirt is from my Ellie Williams cosplay, by the way. Editing me put that one up on screen too. There's no easy way to tell you this, but we're gonna be talking about Toxic Yaoi. We're gonna start with breaking these characters down one by one, and then we'll get into as previously discussed, we have Matt Hooper and Quint. I saw someone online say his first name is Sam. I don't know if that's true. I've never seen that anywhere. If it is, good for them, because I had no idea. Is it like a headcanon? I don't know. I'm going to be calling him Quint, but if his name is Sam, and I want to know how you found that out. Matt Hooper is a marine biologist, and he's a Nepo baby. They hate me 'cause my daddy is rich, and I'm like... He's very smart, but he is able to buy a lot of this tech himself. When him and Brody are on the boat, scene I didn't mention in my recap, that's my bad, they were looking out at ship wreckages. At one point, Brody asks, how do you afford all this stuff? Like, are you rich? And then Hooper's like, me or the family? Hooper also does not take from anyone. We see it with the mayor, we see it with Quint, we see it with all the fishermen. I don't want to say everyone is expendable in his eyes because he is actively trying to help, but it's less for the people and more for the shark. We see him on the boat as Brody and Quint are struggling trying to take pictures of it. He does not give a about everyone else. He just wants to see the shark. Like, he tells us a story. His first encounter with sharks is how, I think it was a thresher, ate his boat. And he got to watch it all go down, and from there, he was like, you know what? That was really cool. I kind of want to see that again. So while this stuff was either given to him or he was able to buy, it comes from a genuine love for his job and what he does. Now let's talk about Quint. Quint is batshit crazy. I understand that the movie comes from the book, but the entire time, every time I watch this movie, I'm sitting there and I'm like, how is his character even pitched? I am afraid of that man. More so, why was no one else on Amity Island other than, like, Ellen afraid of him? Is everyone just used to him? How were no children warned of this man? He's a threat. Some of his lines, I feel like, you couldn't even think of saying that. And I don't mean that like, oh, he's evil and crazy way. No, I just mean it like, I don't think if I thought hard enough, my brain could even go there. And that's a compliment, I guess. He is a shark fisherman. He has a little shop where he boils all his sharks and he hangs up his shark jaws. He has a line that says, we're talking about working for a living, we're talking about sharking. This sticks out to me in a lot of ways. One, because as much as Hooper loves his job, he doesn't have to work very hard for it. Quint does. And when he first meets Hooper, he insults him and says he has city hands, which I can only imagine is true. He says, you've got city hands, Mr. Hooper. Been counting money all your life. And Hooper's response is, I don't need this working class hero crap. Perhaps called out, that's what it sounds like to me. This is where their weird dynamic first starts. And from there, this escalates. As they're boarding the boat, Quint makes fun of all of Hooper's tech. I think he calls him like a half astronaut or something. And then when they're on the boat, Hooper is kind of promoted to like the tech guy. He operates the boat while Quint is down doing the actual fishing. I feel like this says a lot about how Quint views him at first. He is away. Hooper is put away to operate the boat, not to do the actual work. But as the movie goes on, we see Hooper on the deck more. He's not up in the, I think it's the crow's nest. He's able to use more of his equipment. And for a while, that's kind of their whole dynamic. They don't like each other, but objectively, they are useful to one another. And then we get the USS Indianapolis scene. What I want to talk about is Hooper in the background as Quint is telling this story. Because Robert Shaw, as Quint, gets this 1,000-yard stare while recounting it, as he should. Great performance, by the way. Everyone in this movie has really good eye acting. That's what I've noticed. They're all able to act with their eyes really well. As he's recounting the story, we can see Hooper in the background. He's, like, frozen. Again, he's blurred, so you can't tell much. But he is, like, very clearly in some sort of shock. From that point on, they start to get along. I am a firm believer that Hooper, upon hearing Quint's story, is when they started to gain respect for each other. That, and after comparing scars and realizing, like, wait, we have a lot of the same scars. This is probably because we are both doing our jobs. And that kind of sucks, because that's also when he dies. Now, let's take a step back and look at this from a fandom point of view. A very common trope in media, especially in fan bases and fan fiction, is enemies to lovers. And while I don't think you can fully apply that here, if you are looking at it through the lens of a teenager who, I don't want to say knows more about sexuality and identity and everything, but kind of grew up learning more about it than, I don't know, people my dad's age, you can see how that might get into this here. They hate each other, then there's a lot of banter, and then there is a turning point. And then that banter becomes relatively positive. I'm just gonna put it on the screen. Do you see what I mean? You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you guys watch Athena P. I've referenced her on this channel before. It's her word world lore video. And she's like, I can't be the only one finding tension in between the word friends.
I can't be the only one in the world to know about this. This is purely a headcanon. And I threw up in my mouth a little when I said that, because I should not be the first person to have headcanons about Word World.
That is how I feel about this movie. To quote that one comment, all three of them kissed on that boat. I don't care what anyone says. If you are watching it through that lens of like, it is possible they could be gay and in love, then a lot of things start to stick out to you. Like, oh my god, what about the rope? What about everything else? It's there. If you look for it, it's there. This is the only time in history you will catch me dressing up as a cop. We're gonna be talking about the government, because alas, even in fiction, the government continues to disappoint. Larry Vaughn is the mayor of Amity Island. We don't know much about him. We know that he has a family. go off, I guess. But pretty much the first thing we learn about Larry, he is very difficult. And he will only sway things if they benefit his own self-interest. The first scene we get of him is him downplaying Brody's concerns. One of his little goons immediately piping up about how it was probably a boat. Larry, just out of not wanting to think anything would go wrong in his town, agrees. He didn't actually look. He didn't even care. He just didn't want it to pose a threat to him. Because he is essentially the face of this town, he wants to be taken seriously. He wants the people to think he's smart. But where that eventually becomes a problem is that he proceeds to downplay people who are actually smart. Like when Hooper proposes his very valid concerns about this, Larry immediately is like, "Do you want your name in the National Geographic? Shut up, yap, yap, yap." Hooper literally tells him something along the lines of like, "You won't care about this until it swims up and bites you in the ass." Remember that quote. A scene I briefly mentioned earlier, not in my recap, but in the last section, was when Brody and Hooper went out on a fishing boat to kind of look at all of the wreckages. During that exploration process, Hooper went underwater and found the tooth of a great white in one of the wreckages, basically. Except he got jump scared by one of the fishermen, Ben Gardner's head, so in a reasonable reaction, he drops it. And when he says this to Larry, Larry's response isn't, "Oh my god, are you okay?" It's, "Okay, but where is the tooth?" And then when Hooper's like, "Oh, something happened, there was an accident," he didn't care that Hooper was almost hurt. He didn't care that one of the fishermen was dead. All he cared about was, "I don't have anything to prove this, so it must not be true. If I wasn't there, it didn't happen." That is his mentality for this entire movie. If I didn't see it happen, then it didn't happen. This is predictable, but it's still something that needs to be touched upon. One of Larry's lines is, "Amity is a summer town. We need summer dollars." He is doing this for the money. He's like Mr. Krabs. I didn't watch SpongeBob growing up, but I know enough about it to compare him to Mr. Krabs, and that's a criminal offense. If he didn't see it go down, then it didn't happen. And because to him it didn't happen, he will continue making money from it. That is his main motivator. He also just does not listen to any of the people that basically support him in his job. He doesn't give them advice. He doesn't take their advice. He just makes stuff up on the spot. He, off the top of his head, conjures up the idea that the beaches were only going to be closed for 24 hours. He didn't consult anybody beforehand. He just thought of it and was like, "You know what? Yeah." And even then, people weren't happy. The one grace I will give Larry, he has really good costumes. I love his suits. They're so stupid and silly. Anyway, it's made clear just by Larry's speech patterns that he doesn't really think through anything he says. He just does it in hopes that it will A, benefit him, or B, get people to stop criticizing him. Oh my god, who did that? That wasn't me, guys. That was crazy. My lights got possessed. They must be trying to make a statement about something. We also see Larry not being the best person to any of the townspeople, like, at all. There's a scene where, reasonably so, everyone is terrified to get in the water, and he goes up to this random old man who's just sunbathing and is like, "Hey, you should get in the water. For me." And the guy's like, "Okay." And so the guy and his family get in the water, so of course everyone else gets in the water, and then, "No, there's a shark!" And the last big one, he does not care about any of this unless it concerns him. The last we see of him is him telling Brody, "My kids were on that beach too." And that is when he starts to care. If your kids were there, why didn't you do anything? And Brody, being a saint, as much of a saint as a cop can be, it's like, "Okay, then you will sign this for them." And then he finally does. It took 3 people dying for him to be, "I think I made a mistake. Now I have concealer on my nose." Oh. As much as I love this movie, it is riddled with misinformation. It's one of the first, major films to portray sharks as man-eaters, especially vicious ones with intent to kill people. And that's just downright not true. I'm sure you've heard this time and time again, but they traditionally eat seals instead of, arms. And while Steven Spielberg has admitted that he is guilty to all of these shark killings in recent years because of this movie, an apology does not make up for lives lost. In fact, the misinformation in this movie was laid so thick that it created a whole new genre of game, some sort of shark killing tournament. In the past 50 years, shark populations have seen a significant decline, from simply fishing to making stew out of their fins. Again, an apology isn't going to cut it for lives lost. But you can. I've linked a few various GoFundMes and fundraisers to help raise money to decrease shark hunting in the description, along with my usual sources. Now that we've gotten the elephant in the room out of the way, this is gonna sound so silly and so stupid. It's a video about Jaws. This video took over a month, which for me is a big feat. Like, it's a big thing. And normally I film, post, edit all my own videos in less than a week. So the fact that this has been over a month in the making is kind of wild for me to think about. The seasons have literally changed since I started making this. I started this when it was still summer, and I believe now it's the 26th of September. So we've had a whole season switch in between. You can hear my mom and my dogs playing in the background. I figured this is longer than anything I've ever made before on any platform. So if you are seeing this message right now, thank you so much for sticking around. This was such a silly video idea, but it grew into be something so much bigger. And I have paper scraps all over my bed. My phone is propped up on a water bottle, and with my desk lamp on top of a shoebox. You're sitting on a swivel chair right now. Thank you again, big thank you to TikTok user Nathaniel Flynn's boyfriend. They will also be linked. This has been wild, but it's done, and now you get to see it. I'm so excited. Okay, alright. Thank you. Bye.